As Hazal say, a name can be changed if a person has very bad mazal. For example, he didn't find his soulmate to get married. He has no parnasa whatsoever. He didn't have children, God forbid. For very serious reasons like that, it can be considered justifiable to change the name of a person. But just to go around changing names, even a person has a non-Jewish name, and to say change it, is not correct. Because the names, the letters of that name, are drawing down bracha and hatzlacha to this person from when he was born till now. And we have no proof, and it's done by the Gadol Ador, who makes these decisions, that we can rely on changes suggested by anyone and everyone, right, left and center, change. Again, the fake rabbis, so-called Mekubalim, and many common folk, simple people are going to say, for example, concerning the names of women, so they're going to say, Rahel is Gematria Dim'a, which is a double tear. So this child called Rahel will always be crying. Or for example, that Dina is Din, that's strict judgment. Miriam is Mar, is bitterness, so that's she's going to have a bitter life. And so on and so forth. All the holy names of the greatest women in the Jewish history have been defiled and discarded because they have an implication of Din. Of course, these people have no idea of what names of women are about. The name of a woman is meant to have in it the aspect of Midat HaDin, of the attribute of strict judgment. It's something very deep. I don't want to go into it now and to elaborate, but that's how it must be, and that's why all the tzadkaniyot, Sarah, Rivka, Rahel, etc., all the way down in history, Tamar, these are all names which depict the strict judgment. And strict judgment is something beautiful, something wonderful. It's one of the great attributes of the Creator who judges the world. And the women are rooted at the shore, at the soul's source to this aspect of din. And they need it for everything. For bringing up the children, for arranging the chairs and the tables. That's all to do with din. The women are always there arranging and giving shape to a home, which all comes from the Midat Din. Even cooking is din. I cannot go into it too elaborately now, but their names are meant to have this aspect of din. So all these people making these stupid and unfounded claims about the names of the greatest women in our history are certainly doing something very bad. After I got married, I had my first baby was a daughter. I asked one of the great Mekubalim of the generation what he would recommend me to call her. He told me Rahel. That's the best name for a woman. That's the name which even refers to the divine presence in this world, which is called Shekhinah. As we know the concept of Tikkun Rahel, Tikkun Leah. So it's a name for the divine presence, it's good enough for you. Yaakov Avinu's wife was Rahel. Rabbi Akiva's wife was Rahel. They were both great Mekubalim. If they thought Rahel was a bad name, they would have changed it. But they remained with the same name. So all these explanations which are unfounded and with no basis, and quite often based, yes, on misunderstandings. For example, the Hida writes in his book, Dvar Shveit Lefi, that someone who didn't have children for many years and appropriately wants to change her name to a name that will help her have children, if her original name didn't end with a hey, she should now choose a name with the hey. So many people say, look, the Hida said you need a name with a hey. Your name is Rahel. It's without a hey. So you have to have a change and have it with a hey. for no reason, just because it's Rahel, that's wrong. But if this Rahel didn't have children and established rabbi, learned in Torah, thinks it should be changed, then the change should be to a name with a Hey. It could be Sarah, it could be Leah, any name with a Hey. Many communities have this concept of a nickname. For example, since they're living among the nations and they're going to be, going maybe to college or going to in business, and they're uncomfortable to have a totally Jewish name. So let's say at the Brit they were called Abraham, they're going to be called by friends and family Albert. And so on and so forth. There are many names like that, where they have a nickname which is similar to the original Jewish name. So it could be Abraham, so they call him Abi, or Yaakov, they call him Jack, and so on and so forth. So we have to know the correct way of doing this is at the Brit to only give the Hebrew name. And any other name which is used generally to call this person, whether he is a man or a woman, that's a nickname, and it has no religious tokef. That means if a person is saying a blessing for this person, you only say the Hebrew name. Some people give two names, and even this, there are different customs. First of all, we have to know, if we want to name our child after somebody, it must be the exact name. We cannot make, say it sounds the same or it has the same meaning. Let's say a grandmother was called Peril, and they want to name the daughter Pearl. So Pearl is not Peril. Just like Jamila is not Yafa. So if we really want, and I don't think it's a must, to name after somebody specific, it should be the same name, and it shouldn't be with two names, unless there was a reason. For example, someone's father, Bar Minan, died young, and his father's name was, let's say, David. And now the grandson is they want to name him David. But David died young, and they don't want to give the name to the child of a person who suffered in his lifetime, was ill or died young. So they say David, let's say David Yair. So David Yair is not really David. But there's no harm in it, because they're saying David in the honor of the grandfather and adding on Yair because the grandfather suffered, so it's not the exact name. So the suffering won't be inherited by the grandson, and there's no problem in that. In many Ashkenazi kehilas, they always decide, for example, her grandfather is Moshe, and his grandfather is Mordechai. So they'll give the name Mordechai Moshe, Moshe Mordechai. They're giving honor to this name, giving honor to that name. That's also okay. But it's not considered on the same name. If one is particular in giving the same name, as much as possible it should be exactly the same name. If someone is known all over by his non-Jewish name, say like Albert, but his real name is Abraham, when they write his ketubah, they should write Abraham the Mitkaria Albert. Abraham known as Albert. Because the ketubah is an official document which a person must be identified by him. So if you say Abraham Nisan, Nisan being the family name. So no one knows Abraham Nisan, but they all know Albert Nisan. So we have to identify him by a name that he's known by. So we should say Abraham the Mitkaria Albert, who is called Albert. So these are some of the general rules. Names are something very special in Am Yisrael. As we said, Shma Garin. A name has great significance concerning a person's life and things that happen in his life. So we should be careful how we give the names, and not to change names unless there's a very, very immediate reason, like someone very seriously ill. So it's allowed to change the name. some people have discussed him of if someone is ill, not to change the name. They think it's wrong to change the name. They saw it written in the books, don't change name. So they say add a name. So if his name was Moshe, add Mordechai as a refuah. So it's true, Moshe Mordechai is a new name. Meaning that, as Hazuni said clearly, that Moshe is not Mordechai and Mordechai is not Moshe. And Moshe Mordechai is neither Moshe nor Mordechai, it's Moshe Mordechai. And that's a change. But in the actual wording of the prayer that is said when we change a name, we say very clearly, this person who is ill, his name is no more that name. It's changed, and from now on he's called in this name. And we could add on a name, that's also changing. But some people think, no, don't say that. Don't say that we're changing his name. I say, if you don't change his name, he'll die. The whole prayer is based on the fact that we're saying he's not that person, he's a different person. So we have to change the name. So people dealing with these topics usually don't know what they're talking about, they don't know what they're dealing with, and many mistakes are made and many, stupid decisions. So at least one must be guided by rabbis, by authorities in this area to know which name to give. One more point. Many of the Ashkenazic names, like for example, Fegel, Zlata, whatever, many Ashkenazic names, which for generations have been used in families. These are not specifically, they are Yiddish names, Polish names, but they're not specifically Jewish names. I mean, there's no one in the Tanakh with that name. On the other hand, the custom has made them Jewish names. So, although there may be non-Jewish people using those names, as you can see in any Polish phone book or German phone book, you'll see all these Yiddish names being used. But once the tradition is in the family to use those names, it's like a Jewish name. So same thing for the Sfardim, which many Ashkenazi rabbis are not so familiar with. So if they would know that Jamila, which means Yafa, is a name used generation after generation by the greatest tzadkaniyot in the world, the wives and daughters of the greatest Gedolim, that all their books are learned day and night, and the holy, great Torah giants, these were their wives' name or their daughters' names. And there's no problem in it, since these names were adopted by the Jewish communities and used by the Jewish communities. So from generation to generation, they've become Jewish names, and they are proper to use, especially if one wants to name after his grandparents and they had one of these names, there's no problem in it whatsoever. So we want to give everyone a bracha that Hashem should always keep them healthy and happy, and they should never have to change names because of illness or any problem. I often explain the custom from the time of the Gemara, that at the Brit we bless the baby, Keshem shenichnas lebrit ken nikanes letorah lehupal maasim tovim. The same name which he entered into the covenant of Avraham Avinu, he should remain with that name forever, meaning he should never be ill and never need to change that name. That will always be his name. He'll be healthy all his life. And by the way, why do we give the name at the Brit? Because the Arizal explains that when the baby is born, the holy neshama, which is divine, Nishmat Yisrael Helek Eloka Memal, doesn't come into the body only after the Brit, because then the evil connected to the body through the foreskin has been cut off, and now the baby is holy. It's a holy vessel to receive its Jewish soul, which is divine, and then the soul comes in. And since the name is connected to the soul, the moment the soul came in at the Brit, we can give the name, but not before. Bracha v'hatzlacha.